Introduction, Case A, and Learning Organizations. Case A is titled Radio Station WEAA, Leading in a Challenging Situation. We're attempting to address the question, how can the leader encourage the organization to change and become more of a learning organization? Please be sure to read the Peter Senge chapter, The Leader's New Work, Building Learning Organizations in the OD Reader on pages 765 to 792, as well as the WEAA case itself before proceeding with this presentation. If you're interested in more information about learning organizations, you can read the foundational book by Peter Senge titled The Fifth Discipline. As you're pursuing a Master of Organizational Leadership, not a Master of Organizational Development, our cases have leaders rather than internal or external OD consultants as main characters, and Senge provides direct insights into the new work of leaders to lead change. Again, this presentation is a case analysis using the learning organization competency. The analysis was created in a free mind mapping tool on the web called Creately.com. The analysis is being demonstrated for you in Case A, and you will be working together to create an analysis of Case B later in the class. You will eventually be creating your own case analysis using this tool as a starting point for writing your own case study and teaching notes. As you've read in the OD Reader, learning organizations are fundamentally about supporting organizations to surface their very nature of wanting to learn how to improve, how to become better for a meaningful purpose. There are four major elements of learning organizations that we will focus on in our analysis: adaptive and generative learning, creative tension and integration, new leadership roles, and new leadership skills. You might think about each of these elements as a three-legged stool. In this image, we have the goal or seat of our organization, which is generative learning. We are aiming to create a generative or double-loop learning where organizations are open to change, learn from change, and do not rest on their past accomplishments. Supporting generative learning are the three legs of creative tension and integration, new leadership roles, and new leadership skills. Let's walk through how all of these elements apply at radio station WEAA in this case. Adaptive and generative learning. Leaders must certainly attend to adaptive learning or coping skills in an organization. However, it is far too easy for leaders to get caught up in the day-to-day fires and not pay attention to the bigger picture. In this case, the bigger picture is what WEAA has not demonstrated an ability to learn from its troubles and grow to reach its potential. An example of the organization's inconsistency is in the awards that have been sporadically received in 1995, 2000, 2002, and 2005. Maybe these awards are not the best measures of excellence. There is little discussion of what measures of excellence are high leverage areas. Without clarity of what the organization values, it's impossible to design staff evaluation systems that will drive alignment and high performance throughout the organization. Without feedback from these measures, it's hard to know what is and is not going well and where to focus the learning opportunities. And generative learning moves beyond measures to encourage even greater creativity. Creative tension and integration. The quote from Martin Luther King in the OD Reader is literally moving. We will revisit the idea of specific change processes later in class, but for now, let's focus on the need to identify both how things are and how things could be at WEAA. Note that no tension exists if we focus on how things are. You know the story, whine, whine, whine. Just as there is no tension if we focus only on the future. You know, just those rose-colored glasses. To change the status quo, we need the tension of the gap between the reality and the vision. In applying creative tension and integration at WEAA, we see that the station is not doing very well, although it does have some positive attributes. With the reality of high turnover, including strategic positions, missing FCC licensure reporting deadlines, inconsistency in staff performance and production quality, and vague intellectual property policies, there are many opportunities to improve as well as build on what is going well. The station does have a high level of community involvement. It is part of a university that has been willing to support it with student and financial resources, and it has a new state-of-the-art facility. The case is written with Fisk as the new News and Public Policy Director. This is a key element of this case. The vision is Fisk's vision. We do have some information about the vision of Owens, the station's general manager. Take a look at the organizational chart in the case. Who is the leader of this organization? Who would you assume has both the position and the authority to endorse strategic decisions at WEAA? One of the fundamental issues in this case is what role does Fisk want to play? As News and Public Affairs Director, there are many people in the organization that do not fall within her chain of command, and yet she was hired to be a change agent by Owens, the general manager. It's no wonder that she's struggling with role overload at this point in the case, and she has accepted both roles of change agent as well as the News and Public Affairs Director. Deciding on what role she wants and is willing to take, and getting clarification from Owens is the first fundamental decision in this case. New roles. To move forward, we need to make some assumptions. Let us assume that Owens and Fisk have come to an agreement that Fisk will assume the role of change agent for the time being, working on helping WEAA and not just her department become a learning organization. This allows her to follow her passions of leadership and teaching, as well as to maintain rather than grow the News and Public Affairs Department in order to reduce her role overload. This is a tricky option. She must also acknowledge that Owens is the formal leader of WEAA and maintain open and constant communication with him while she holds the title of News and Public Affairs Director. Owens will need to communicate purposefully with the rest of the organization about the expectations for change. Under these assumptions, Fisk will need to readdress her priorities to be more appropriate for the role of designer and social architect. As teacher, she'll need to help the staff understand different ways of seeing WEAA as an organization with clear expectations and rewards for excellence. She can help the staff see these new realities by sharing her experiences and knowledge of the United Way volunteer program and creating performance celebrations. She needs to step up as steward as well. With her previous role overload, she was not perceived to be available and supportive of the staff. This will need to change by making sure she quickly returns staff phone calls, talks with staff when they are in the studios, sends personal email communications, all for clear and personal attention to support them. Shared vision. There will need to be a mandatory staff meeting for all staff wishing to continue their role in the organization. The purpose of the meeting is to create a shared vision, one that builds off of personal visions and is built together with all members of the organization. If this can be an all-day or two-day retreat, additional work will include addressing mental models and systems thinking. In terms of mental models, anecdotal data from the staff interviews provided in the case indicates that a leap of abstraction that volunteer staff cannot be held accountable for high performance standards may be the case. This abstraction can be addressed with inquiry and advocacy for a new mental model that says that volunteers can be reliable and high-performing, i.e., the United Way model. In addition, although the organization espouses a commitment to student development, the theory in use seems to indicate that students may not be the best staffing for the station in the future. The staff need to be clear on which concept the organization is going to embrace. Relative to systems thinking, the independent nature of the hosts indicates a lack of understanding of the interdependencies between their work and the success of the station. There does not appear to be a culture of blame, which is good. However, the organization must address the dynamic complexity of how poor performance on the radio today can have an impact on next year's fundraising efforts. As with all of these new skills, it is incumbent that Fisk work to ensure that the staff are participating in the process of helping the organization become a learning organization. This includes the staff's involvement in determining the high leverage areas where they can make small changes for big impact. One option might be setting goals to reduce the number of encore presentations. Finally, a primary symptom is volunteer staffing. Fisk should work to address the fundamental causes of the challenges facing WEAA, starting with strategy, structure, and policies. Fisk is in a very challenging position indeed. The strategic competencies involving generative learning, creative tension, new roles, and new skills can help her lead this organization into a new and better future.